There are forces of good and forces of evil at work in the world today. What are these forces? Who is responsible for the good? And who is responsible for the evil? Richard Shoff talks about current events which are rarely discussed by the mainstream media, events that affect us all. This program seeks to identify, to inform, and to equip the believer for what's ahead. Welcome to What in the World is Going On?
This is Richard Shoff, host for What in the World is Going On. President Donald Trump, during a news conference with Baltic leaders in the East Room on last Tuesday, revealed that he was sending the National Guard troops to the Mexican border to bolster security until his promised border wall is built. Last Tuesday, that was April 3rd, Trump told reporters he planned to deploy the U.S. military to guard the border, and he would abandon NAFTA without assurances of help on securing the border. In other words, folks, if Mexico didn't want to cooperate and play ball, NAFTA might be ended. We're going to be doing some things. I've been talking with General Mattis. We're going to be doing some things militarily until we can have a wall and proper security. A quote from Donald Trump. Now we're going to be guarding our border with the military. The White House did not specify when the plan would be implemented. That was last Tuesday, but as of today, Thursday, it is imminent. The National Guard has been used in recent years for intelligence and surveillance on the border, but not for direct law enforcement. Under Republican President George W. Bush, the National Guard between 2006 and 2008 provided border-related intelligence analysis, but had no direct law enforcement role. In 2010, President Barack Obama sent National Guard troops to the U.S.-Mexican border to provide intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance support to U.S. Border Patrol agents. Trump campaigned on a promise to build a wall. He's been pushing for it for a year now since he took office. The president wanted as much as $25 billion to fund it, but the omnibus spending bill approved last week only authorized $1.6 billion for fencing, surveillance, technology, and other methods. Let's look a little bit behind this story. Now we see that the Mexican is throwing their bureaucracy at migrant caravan. Dispersal begins. The Mexican officials stepped up efforts last Tuesday to register a dwindling group of hundreds of largely Central American migrants who are moving through Mexico toward the U.S. They're now seeking to disperse the caravan that's drawn the ire of U.S. President Donald Trump. Trump has long sought to take a tough stance against illegal immigration. He's rallied against the caravan that's worked its way from the Guatemalan-Mexican border in the past 10 days. At the weekend, and again on Tuesday, he reiterated threats to torpedo the North American Free Trade Agreement, that's NAFTA, if the migrants are not stopped. In response, the Mexican government said on Monday that the migrants in the caravan are undergoing an administrative procedure. They said that's a process that officials said would determine whether the people had a right to stay in Mexico or would be returned to their countries of origin. Listen to this now, folks. This caravan was organized by a U.S.-based advocacy group, Pueblo Sin Fronteras. What I want to point out is this group has been organized in the United States. They seek to draw attention to the rights of migrants and provide them with aid. The Mexican government says such caravans, which travel by road, rail, and on foot, have been organized every year since 2010. Have you ever heard of it before, folks? I haven't. I've seen national leaders that said they haven't either. Maybe the mainstream media was covering it up. Well, anyway, hundreds of men, women, and children, many of them from Honduras, were stuck on Tuesday, the 3rd of April, in the town of Matias Romero in the poor southern Mexican state of Oaxaca, awaiting clarification of their legal status after officials began registering them. Confused and frustrated by paperwork, many migrants were uncertain about what lay in store, and they were desperate for information. What was the point of all this then if they don't want us to stay? Said one migrant from El Salvador who was traveling with 2 children. She was angry. She said, "There's no food. My children haven't eaten since yesterday." Hundreds of people camped out overnight in a park near the town's train station with shoes and bags strewn all over the place. The group convened at the southern border on March 25th, reaching a peak of around 1,500 people. But by Tuesday, the number was down to around 1,100, according to Pueblo Sin Fronteras spokesman Gina Gabriel. Many had broken off from the group, eager to move on more quickly. Notice again, folks, this is all sponsored by a group right here in the United States. Aren't they fine people? The government said on Monday evening that around 400 people in the caravan had already been sent back to their home countries. Many of those in the caravan aimed to stay in Mexico because they had family ties there or planned to work. Martin Rojoa, a local director of Grupo Beta, the reform group of Mexico's Migration Authority, said his group was in Marias Romero registering migrants to provide them with documentation that could regularize their migration status within Mexico. In other words, make them legal in Mexico. Such measures would include processing asylum requests, and he said that the officials in Marias Romero were not there to detain the migrants. However, other officials have said that those with no grounds to be in Mexico will have to leave. What's the next stop? You got it, the U.S. border. Those migrants permitted to be in Mexico are free to make their way to the U.S. border, where it is up to the U.S. authorities to decide whether or not they can enter the country. This according to the Mexican government. Stopping illegal migrants crossing into the United States from Mexico was a key platform of Trump's election campaign that carried him to his presidency. He sought to link stopping the migrant flow and his plans for a southern border wall to the current negotiations of NAFTA, the accord between Canada, the United States, and Mexico that underpin much of Mexico's foreign trade. However, the caravan of migrants also poses a political problem for Mexico's unpopular government in a presidential election year. President Enrique Peña Nieto is barred by law from seeking re-election in the July 1 vote, but the ruling party candidate is running third, well behind the front runner. And incidentally, the front runner is a leftist. The government does not want to be seen as kowtowing to threats by Trump, who's deeply unpopular in Mexico. In a country where millions of people have friends or relatives who have migrated legally or illegally to the United States, many Mexicans harbor sympathy for the Central Americans attempting to make the same journey northward. Honduras, El Salvador, and Guatemala are among the most violent and impoverished countries in the Americas, prompting many people to leave in search of a better life. Now, folks, this is all leading up to our National Guard going down there to the border. They can be put up to stand as a human barrier to anyone trying to cross over. They will assist Border Patrol. At this point, our Homeland Security Secretary has said they will not be armed. Now, where has been our media on this? They're just starting to come out as the Mexicans have announced the group was forming in Mexico. And of course, they've sided with the illegal caravan, saying Trump threatens nuclear weapons against them. How absurd. Yeah, that's right. The media in many areas is saying that Trump is threatening to use nuclear weapons against these refugees. Nothing could be further from the truth. They're probably not even going to be armed. The caravan may stop at Mexico City, but that's not for sure. Now, Mexico doesn't want these people down there. They're not going to let them stay there unless they're approved to stay in Mexico. But they will, up to this point, encourage them to come to the border where U.S. will be responsible for stopping them. Now let's look to another subject. How long will Fox News be a conservative outlet for views in America? Open war has broken out at Fox News. Comes to me from Peter Chauka. Prominent on-air news and opinion hosts at Fox News are going at it tooth and nail as ailing 86-year-old Rupert Murdoch moves to hand the reins of his network to his liberal son, Lachlan. In early February, our writer says, he got wind of an internal war bubbling below the surface at Fox News. The combatants included several prominent on-air personalities, and there were growing signs that they were gearing up to engage in a serious battle with one another. The conflict pitted representatives of the daytime hard news department against several stars who are faces on the channel during prime time, when opinion-themed shows dominate. Like many Americans in the workplace, beliefs in different opposing ideologies were pushing these people apart. Adding fuel to the fire in the highly competitive hot house environment of cable television news was jealousy and resentment. Well, recently, the battle went public. It involved three top Fox News personalities, Shepard Smith, Sean Hannity, and Laura Ingraham. During skirmishes in this long-simmering conflict began last year, when veteran left-of-center Fox News hosts Shepard Smith and Chris Wallace were on the first on-air talent to publicly throw down the gauntlet. Both of them are highly valued and well paid. They present the hard news side for Fox News Channel. Last year, Shepard Smith, the channel's lead news anchor and host at the 3 p.m. Eastern long-hour news show Shepard Smith Reporting, outed himself as a critic of President Donald Trump. Also in his sights were other prominent Fox News personnel who had defended Trump, including the channel's senior judicial analyst, former Judge Andrew Napolitano. As the Washington Post reported in a swooning profile of Smith on February 22, 2017, Andrew Napolitano had validated the unfounded claim that President Barack Obama had recruited British agents to bug Trump Tower during the campaign. Smith stepped in to say otherwise. On air, a Post article noted, Smith issued a shot across the bow when he said, and I quote, "Fox News cannot confirm Judge Napolitano's commentary. Fox News knows of no evidence of any kind that the now President of the United States was surveyed at any time in any way." Smith's slap at Napolitano, and by extension at President Trump, whom Smith increasingly demanded in his off-air reporting, did not please FNC's core audience of conservative viewers. As the Post article noted, Smith's off-message comments about Trump have made him an apostate to the conservative Fox News orthodoxy. In mid-February 2017, following Trump's freewheeling news conference, Smith labeled Trump's responses, quote, absolutely crazy, end quote. He even, horror of horrors, defended CNN, Fox's mortal enemy, when Trump blasted it as fake news during another news conference. CNN's reporting was not fake news, Smith said. Its journalists follow the same standards to which other news organizations, including Fox News, adhere, end quote. Smith's persistent fact-mongering has made him persona non grata among some parts of the Fox News faithful, in an echo of the hostility reaction to then Fox anchor Megyn Kelly's tough questioning of Trump during the campaign. For weeks, Trump fans have stormed social media with demands for Smith's firing and boycott threats if the network doesn't get rid of him. The other Fox News department antagonist in this involving war is Chris Wallace. So far, Wallace has not joined in the latest public mudslinging. Wallace, who is 70 but looks a decade younger, is a registered Democrat who previously spent years working for NBC News and ABC News before he joined Fox in 2003 as the new host of Fox News Sunday. His task was to give the struggling program an infusion of energy and pump it up to get their ratings up. On October 20th, 2017, Chris Wallace had apparently had enough of Fox News Channel's primetime opinion host. As CNN reported, Fox News host Chris Wallace slams network colleagues for attacking the press. Wallace's unnamed but obvious target was Sean Hannity. Fox News host Chris Wallace then leveled sharp criticism in an article against some of his colleagues who've echoed President Trump and used their perch at the network to attack the media as fake news. I don't like them bashing the media because oftentimes when they're bashing, what they're bashing is stuff that we on the news are doing, he added. I don't think they recognize that they have a role at Fox News and we have a role too. I don't know what's in their head. I just think it's bad form, end quote. The comments from Wallace, who hosts Fox News Sunday and is widely considered to be one of the main faces at Fox News' hard news division, represents perhaps the most searing criticism the network's opinion division has faced in recent memory from a colleague. Some weeks ago, a reliable source familiar with the thinking of two of FNC's primetime hosts offered the following analysis while insisting on anonymity. Shepard Smith and Chris Wallace have taken pot shots at Fox News opinion programming. It's never-ending source of laughter at how low their ratings are and how these pretend journalists who seems incapable of ever breaking any real news. The horrendous rating of Chris Wallace and Sean Smith, Smith's audience is about 50% of what primetime hosts pull in, show that how out of touch they are with the Fox audience, and the general consensus is that both Shep and Chris should just pack up and go to work for MSNBC or CNN because the Fox audience hates their biased views. One needs to only look at Fox News election night coverage in 2016. Smith and Wallace were absolutely and visibly stunned by Donald Trump's victory. Fox nighttime slate is dominated by opinion. There they have the fire-breathing sort practiced by Tucker Carlson at 8, Sean Hannity at 9, and Laura Ingraham at 10. Of the relationship between Smith and Fox News fire-breathing evening host, Time reports the coexistence with Smith is increasingly uneasy. Smith says he's unbothered by the divergence between his reporting and Fox opinion slate. We serve different masters, he said. We work for different reporting chains. We've got different rules. They don't really have rules on the opinion side. They can say whatever they want. If it's their opinion, I really don't watch a lot of opinion programming, he says. I'm busy. This was Smith talking. Smith, who's been dogged by rumors for much of his career, publicly acknowledged that he's gay. That was in 2017 that he came out of the closet. I think that's the part you like, he shoots back when I ask if his boyfriend of 6 years works in the news business. Some of the honey drips away from his drawl. He says, I don't mind talking about it. It's just, that's just my personal life, and I'm not hiding anything. I've got a long-time boyfriend, and we're happy as we can be, and we live a normal life, and go to dinner and go to games and see his family and see my family. It's just great, the enjoyment we have with each other. Some wonder, is Smith doing his job for the money? He makes around $10 million a year, according to one source. It's reported he sure doesn't earn that. Now, it's now become clear that Sean Hannity's had enough. Not known in the past for ever criticizing a fellow Fox News employee, Hannity tweeted this at 12:44 p.m. Eastern Time on March 16th. Quote, while Shep is a friend with political views I do not share and great at breaking news, he is clueless about what we do every day. Hannity does break the news every day. He covers the unmasking scandal, leaking intel, FISA abuse, Hillary Clinton's law-breaking, the dossier, and so on. He let Shep have it. 41 minutes later, Nora Ingraham joined the fray by tweeting, quote, always liked Shep, but his comments were inconsiderate and inaccurate. The hard-working team at the Ingraham angle does real reporting, develops important sources, and scores big interviews. We're very proud of them. That was Laura Ingraham. The larger context, folks, this recent and potentially escalating series of skirmishes in the war of attrition for the heart and soul of the Fox News Channel is being fought out in the midst of potential further upheavals at the executive level of the nation's one cable news outlet. The chaos that ensued after Ailes' ouster, the departure of primetime host Megyn Kelly 5 months later, followed by the firing of the channel's #1 host, Bill O'Reilly, in April 2017, and the ill-advised move of the weak ensemble gab show, The Five, to primetime in May, challenged the nation's 15-year ratings dominance. Things finally settled down in the fall of 2017 when the premiere of a new primetime lineup consisting of conservative opinion host Tucker Carlson at 8, Sean Hannity at 9, and Laura Ingraham at 10. Then they had, of course, they've got the veteran reporter and host Martha McCollum and Shanna Breen on each side. The ratings for the reconfigured Fox News weekend schedule has been strong since then, although in recent weeks, MSNBC has often won the prime period between 9 and 12 a.m. Eastern times. Folks, where would you want to go to get the news on a daily basis? Well, I can give you some recommendations. Personally, I think Sean Hannity is number one. He's on Fox, of course. I like Judge Jeanine on Saturday, particularly her opening comments. Laura Ingraham does a great job. And Lou Dobbs is pretty good on business news, all on Fox, along with Tucker Carlson. Again, my number one choice is Hannity. On the radio, there's only one place to look, only one place to listen, Rush Limbaugh. If you're driving your car, can't watch it someplace else, where you can't watch a news report on television, tune in Rush on AM radio. Once again, this is Richard Shoff, host of What in the World is Going On. This program sponsored by Lincoln Log Homes of Kannapolis, North Carolina. We'll see you again shortly.